Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So this film starts from the time of Christmas Eve. Here we see a couple sleeping in the night, and then their daughter comes. She wakes up her mom and says that someone is walking on the roof. Her dad ignores her and her mom walks her back to her room and tells her that there must be some animal. The girl says, "But mom, it can be Santa too, right?" Mom smiles and says, "Yes." The girl says, "Then you keep milk and cookies for Santa." Mother smiles again and agrees, then she tells her to sleep. Then she goes to the kitchen and keeps milk and cookies, but when she goes back, she notices that the door is open. She thinks that maybe my husband forgot to close the door when he came from the office. She immediately closed the door and locked it. However, she went back to her room and tells her husband that he forgot to lock the door, and that his daughter has kept milk and cookies for him, so become Santa and eat them before the dawn. But husband didn't give a shit. However, their daughter was still awake, and this time she heard someone walking inside the house, so she went downstairs and saw Santa. She immediately ran to her brother's room and tries to wake him up, but he was just like his father, so he told her to get out of his room and let him sleep. So she went down alone. This time, as she watched carefully, she found his behavior strange. She got scared of him and immediately hid behind the door. From there, she was watching him. Soon, Santa opens up his bag and takes out an axe. His hands were covered in blood. Now, looking at that, we can understand that this is not Santa. In fact, he's an evil clown. He was, Art the Clown. He went upstairs. She followed him. She saw him entering into her brother's room. Then she heard sounds of attacking with axe. He brutally killed her brother, chopping off his every body part mercilessly. Then he turned off the light and came out of the room. Blood was dripping from his axe. He slowly moved towards her parents' room. They were still sleeping. He enters and started attacking husband with his axe. Now he will sleep forever. He kept killing him brutally. Hearing the dangerous voice, his wife woke up and found out her arm wet in her husband's blood. She quickly turned on the light and found her husband being slaughtered with an axe. She was screaming in fear. The clown kept laughing and teasing her. She was so scared, but still the clown wasn't stopping. He was still hitting him again and again with his axe. Watching all that, his wife ran away from there, screaming. She closed the door, but he had an axe, so he simply broke the door. He kept following her. She somehow reached the main door, and then he was very happy. He killed her in the worst way possible, chopping off her arm and splitting her head with his axe. Then he enjoyed those cookies with milk. He was a decent man, so he washed the dishes. However, he sensed someone in the cabinet. It was little Julia hiding. This was the best day of his life. After this, the story shifts 5 years ago. In the past, here we can see a policeman at a strange place. He found headless body of Art the Clown laying on the ground. There was blood everywhere. The policeman calls his team, telling them about the situation. He further moves ahead for investigation, but suddenly the headless body of Art became alive and killed him despite of shots. Then Art got on a train, where only a woman was sitting. He was balancing the policeman's slaughtered head on his neck. So basically, if he needs something from someone, he simply kills that person and takes it. Watching this, she got scared of him. After this, we see a mental asylum scene, where the guard suddenly hears a nurse's scream from a cell. As soon as he reached there, he found something very scary. Actually, a mad patient there whose name was Vicky had given birth to Art's head. She was looking as evil as Art. The whole cell was covered in blood. Art's head was eating nurse's body, and Vicky was enjoying her meal too. Everything was horrible, unbelievable, and disgusting. The guard was scared to death. Vicky acted as if she needs help. But soon she showed her brutality. She too was cruel and merciless like Art. She became Art's companion because she made a heart on the wall and it said Vicky plus Art. Guard was so much scared. He also saw Art's headless body waving him. Before he could do anything, Vicky attacked him. And that's when they showed their brutality. The man punched Vicky. She putted her hand inside his mouth and ripped off his jaw. This dude was enjoying the moment. Both of them together killed him brutally. Art puts his head and they get into a train, where Art found his fan and killed him, then takes his clothes. Both of them came to an empty house, where Vicky sees herself in the mirror. She starts hitting her head on the mirror and breaks it. Then she took a sharp piece of mirror and sat into a bathtub, then cut her wrist, while Art also sat on the chair in front of her. Both of them kept sitting in this same position for a whole 5 years. Now the story shifts to 5 years ahead, present time. Here we see a girl, Sienna, who had been in a mental hospital for the past 5 years. Actually, 5 years ago. Art killed her friends brutally in front of her. But at the end, the one who separated Art's head with his body was no one else but Sienna, because she did this with the help of a magical sword, which was the Heaven's Black Sword. But that incident had a very deep effect on Sienna's mind. She was in deep shock, but now she was fine. That's why she got discharged. Her uncle brought her home from the hospital, where she meets her aunt and cousin. She was very close to them. On the other hand, 2 workers entered that same empty house, where Art and Vicky were present. Their job was to break old buildings, so they came to survey that house. Art was still sitting there like a statue. Their bodies were surprisingly unrotten, but before the workers could understand anything, they came back to life and attacked them. And like always, they brutally killed them. Bad morning, everyone. When taking out her stuff, Sienna's cousin found her diary. She started reading it, but Sienna immediately took her diary back and told her not to read it again, ever. After that, when everyone was having lunch together, Sienna saw her dead friend. She was teasing and taunting her. She was looking very scary. She was the same friend who was killed by Art, but only Sienna could see her, which means she was still in trauma and hadn't recovered completely. She was saying that she killed her. After this, we see Sienna's brother in the hostel, where he meets his 2 friends. His female friend had just started a job in which she used to host a crime podcast show. She used to take interview of such people who have seen actual crime scenes with their own eyes. As soon as she saw Sienna's brother, she started chasing him and requested him to come to her show, because she knew that Sienna and her brother had confronted Art the Clown. She was a fan of Art and wanted to know more about him, deeply and closely. Idiot. Upon listening Art's name, he hesitated. However, he said that he will think about it. At the same time, he got a call from his sister Sienna. She told him that she was missing him and that he should come home to meet her. On the other hand, Art and Vicky were still at that home. Art was thinking of some new torture and killing techniques, and he came up with a brutally brilliant idea. Now Art, and we all know that freezing gives you so much pain, so it will be so cool to freeze and torture then kill. And this was exactly what his new torture technique was. He made a freezing gas and experimented it on a mouse, and boom, the mouse freeze solid like a rock. Then he broke it like a toy and fed it to other mouses. Oh my God, how kind he is. I love that guy. He was so happy that he even kissed it. As he was finding his prey, he found a bar where some people were sitting, and one man was dressed up like Santa. Firstly, he talked to him in a nice way. Santa was also a nice man, but slowly he started doing ridiculous things. He started teasing him, spitting on his face, and even peed on him. This made them angry. As soon as they came forward to beat him, he took out his gun and shot them. He killed everyone except one guy who was wearing Santa dress, because this naughty guy is gonna torture him. First he ties him to a chair. Then he sprayed that freezing gas to freeze him. Then he takes out his hammer and started torturing him. He even ripped out his beard. At last he killed him. See how happy he is? 'Cause he was now Santa. On the other hand, Sienna got an old letter from her brother, in which he had written that some demons come from hell into our world. But they can't do this at their own. They do this with the help of a dead person, a very bad person who has recently died. Now, if there are demons, there must be someone to fight them too. And they are angels. And one of them is you, Sienna, and that's why you killed Art. And even if he comes back, you can kill him again. After this, we see Sienna and her cousin in a mall. They were shopping, but suddenly Sienna heard people screaming. This thing alarmed her about Art's presence. And then she saw Art. Wearing Santa dress, she could feel him. It was indeed him. His clothes were covered in blood, but he was wearing Santa mask. He even waved her. She could sense his presence. But suddenly her cousin came from behind. She talked to her, and as soon as she turned back, he left. Nowhere to be seen at all. After coming back to home, she told her brother about all that. She told that she saw Art at the mall today. She couldn't see his face as he was wearing a Santa mask, but she was quite sure that it was Art as she could feel him, and that he disappeared as soon as she turned. His brother said, "That can't be him. You must be mistaken." You killed him, right? I have forgotten him, and you should too. Try to forget about that incident. On this, Sienna shows him his own written letter in which he said that demons need help of a bad dead person to come in this world. Earlier, Art came with the help of a girl who was very bad. And this time, he has come with the help of Vicky. That's why she's missing from the mental asylum. Upon hearing all this, his brother got scared and said, "So what should we do now? Should we tell police? Or run from the town? Or tell Uncle and Auntie about this?" She said that they're telling Uncle and Auntie about this is useless. They already think I'm mad. They will never believe me. She have to find that magical sword in any way. On the other hand, Art sits in the place of Santa, the same man who he killed earlier. He was wearing his real beard along with his skin. Naughty boy. He then gives a gift to a girl. After watching that, other kids ran to him. He started giving gifts to all the kids. Because of that, his bag got empty. But as the kids' parents saw him, they become concerned. What kind of freaky Santa he is. He is scary, they called the security. After that, they kicked him out. But soon a terrible thing happened. The gifts that he gave to the kids had bombs. As soon as Kid opened it, the bomb exploded, killing everyone in the mall. The whole mall burned out, leaving no one alive. Our dude must be so happy. On the other hand, Sienna found the magical sword. She wrapped it in a gift box to hide it. But her cousin saw her doing all that. Then, during the conversation, her cousin said, "Sienna, that you like series, right?" Upon hearing this, Sienna took her upstairs, where she says, "I have never told you ever that I like series. How do you know? You must have read my diary, right?" Her cousin replied, "Yes, I am sorry. I read it, even you forbiddens me. But I wanted to know what happened to you. Things you have written, Art the Clown, things related to him. Are they all true?" Sienna thought that she was just a kid, so she didn't want to scare her. That's why she said no. She said that I am sick. That's why I wrote all that. There is no truth in it. Her cousin got very disappointed and said, "Oh man, everything went wrong. I was enjoying it." Upon this, Sienna said, "All right, promise me, whatever you have read, whatever you know, you will never tell it to anyone. Okay?" Upon which her cousin agreed and promised her that she won't tell all that to anyone. In the hostel, Sienna's brother's friend was telling her other friend that she wants to take Sienna's interview in any way, because she wanted to know about Art's story. She said that I want to feel his fear. How does it feel when a bad demon is around you? How does he smile? Idiot. Now our dude had already reached the hostel. "Hello, everyone." He hid and heard all that what she said. "Oh, one more fan. Let's meet her, closely." Sienna was watching news on TV about the explosion at mall. Government was thinking that it was some kind of terrorist attack, but Sienna knew it was Art. He was back. She got so much scared and started worrying about her brother. She immediately called him and told him about the explosion at mall and everything, and tells him to come back home. His brother asked, "Did you find the sword?" She said yes. So he agrees to come home. So his uncle reached hostel to pick him. In the bathroom, this dude was doing some personal stuff when he found Sienna's brother's female friend with her other friend and attacked her with his chainsaw. He first hit her head and then keep hitting her face until it crushed. He fulfilled her wish. He made her feel his fear. Look, this is how I smile? Happy now? However, she was still alive, so he killed her. "Oh wait, I have a gift for ya. Take this. And now you look perfect." Her other friend was lying on the ground in very bad condition. Watching him, Art's brutality mode turned on, and he dissected him from the middle, killing him painfully. He enjoyed a lot. Sienna suddenly woke up 'cause of a bad dream. It was 2 a.m. and she realized that her uncle and aunt were still awake, as she heard them talking. So she went downstairs to check, but she got scared, because it was not her uncle and auntie, but Vicky, making up their voices, and Art was also present there, and he had already killed her uncle, cut off his head, and was attaching his rest of the body to a wall with nails. Then Art took out his little hammer and started attacking Sienna, although she tried to fight him. But still, she couldn't do anything without the sword. She tried to take the sword, but then he attacks her with hammer and made her unconscious. When she regains consciousness, she found herself tied to a chair, and her aunt was also tied in front of her, and something was wrapped on the table. Then Vicky went to her aunt and removed tape from her mouth. Her aunt cried and asked, "Where is my daughter? And what did you do with her?" On this, Vicky tells Art to remove the wrapper from that thing. That was a cage in which someone's detached head was being eaten by rats. There was no meat on it, only skull was left. That's why they couldn't recognize whose head was that. Her aunt was crying. She said, "No, it's a lie. I don't believe you. This can't be my daughter's head." After which Vicky started torturing her. She putted a rat into her mouth through a pipe. Then she cuts her throat and pulls the rat out of there. So that's how, in front of Sienna's eyes, she killed her aunt mercilessly. Then Vicky puts a crown of thorn on Sienna's head and said that it's not really your cousin's head. The thorns were penetrating into her head and blood was dripping down. Art was enjoying every moment. Then Art puts a pair of glasses on the skull's eyes, which was the sign that it was Sienna's brother's head. After realizing that, Sienna goes crazy. She started screaming loudly. Vicky tells her to shut up. Then said, "Listen to me, there is no God." By doing this, she wanted to weaken her belief on God and wanted to break her courage. Then she started strangling her. She wanted to control her. But Sienna was so strong that Vicky could neither weaken her belief on God nor was able to break her courage. That's why, despite trying, she wasn't able to control her. So now they wanted to kill her cousin in front of her. That's why Art puts knife on her cousin's throat. But her cousin got an idea. She said, "Okay, you two are angles, right? So please fulfill my wish. After that, you may kill me. I just want to open up a gift of mine before dying." On this, both of them agreed and let her go to open that gift. This was the same box in which Sienna had kept the sword. Because her cousin knew how to kill those demons, she also requested that the box must be opened by Sienna. So they gave that box to Sienna. But before she could open that, Art broke her fingers with hammer. But even after that much pain, she finally succeeded to open up that box. And surprisingly, her hands healed as soon as she touched the sword. Now it was her turn. She takes out the sword and cut Art's throat. Then threw the sword towards Vicky, which pierced her chest. Then she took out the sword and stabbed it into her mouth and then blew up her head. This is as Vicky's game was over. But then Art came up with a chainsaw to attack her. But this time she had the sword. That's why she fully competes Art and resists his every attack. And there they had a very dangerous fight. But in the end, Sienna was winning. She pierced the sword into his stomach. Art was getting weak. But suddenly, Vicky's blood started turning into acid. Her cousin was standing right there, due to which ground started to melt and burst, and a path to the hell opened, in which her cousin fell. Sienna immediately ran to save her with her sword. Her cousin was still hanging there. She tried to reach her and told her to come up, but unfortunately, her hand slipped and she fell inside, along with the sword. Seeing this, Sienna was very sad. But she promised herself that she will go to hell and definitely bring her cousin and the sword back. Then she saw that Art was not there and the window was also open, which means that he ran away, which was a very bad news. After that, we see a girl sitting in the bus reading a book about demons. Art was also sitting in that bus. He was fully covered in blood. He was scaring her and then he smiled widely. And the movie ended at that horrifying scene. The bloodshed will continue. Lots of questions are waiting to be answered. Let's wait together for Terrifying 4.